Thanks for jumping into another podcast episode brought to you by Bad Tabletop Gaming. Your hosts are Bill, Armin, Andy, and Dan. If you are a new listener, welcome and thank you for your support. If you're a returning listener, welcome back and thank you for your support. Before we kick this new episode, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Tony at Hammerhead Games, who has a variety of MDF and plastic cut gaming essentials from army trays to objectives and much, much more. And Matt at Pop Goes the Monkey, who has a large inventory of top-notch upgrade bits and specialized add-ons for the models in your collection. Links for both pages can be found in the descriptions of our videos. Lastly, if you like what we are doing, please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit us up in the comments, as we love all the feedback you give us to help us improve the channel and podcasts.
Hey guys, welcome back. Sandy here, joined with Bill and Dan.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Say hi. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
The boys again. We're all back together again on the podcast. And today we're doing the Mighty Iron Hands. I almost said Iron Warriors there.
No, Andy.
Yeah,
It's the Iron Hands. It's the Iron Hands.
Yeah, not to be confused with the Iron Warriors.
So in our community and whatnot, Dan's actually our main Iron Hand player.
I'm
So
probably
he'll be going-
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm probably the predominant person, or the one who's consistently been playing since book 2.
Yeah,
well, since we've really started, really. Right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So
The
way back when.
OG Iron Hand player.
Exactly. I think there was one other player, and he was in for I think a league, and haven't really seen him out since. So,
Yeah.
but definitely different army compared to yours. But
Mhm.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit here. So yeah. So Bill, would you want to lead in with some questions?
I guess starting things off, Dan, what drew you to the Iron Hands at first?
To be honest, it's all the bionics. Also, for whatever reason, I seem to be drawn to black armor. I play Raven Guard for 40k. I play Iron Hands for Horus Heresy.
It's
Also, it's all mechanized, right? So it's all the bionics, it's all the tanks, it's all that. That's what really drew me to the Iron Hands to begin with.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, they're all walking around like everybody's a Terminator, basically, right?
Basically, yeah.
Like, talking James Cameron Terminator there, not Terminator armor. So
Yeah, they're all cyborgs pretty much. They as soon as a limb gets blown off, they're just like, yes, now I can replace it, and like that's basically their kind of rite of passage, is just like replacing body parts. And as soon as something feels like it's failing them, they don't hesitate. It's just like, just cut it out. I'm gonna get a new eyeball or whatever, right? Like, it's just that whole aspect of becoming a machine almost.
They must be Necron fans, eh?
I guess they would be.
no doubt.
That's
Well,
funny.
the flesh is weak, right? So
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see them too often. Like, besides you, Dan. I mean, your army was, like you said, mechanized mainly, right?
Yeah, I basically, my big thing is I try to stay away from the meta, and then as soon as the armored breakthrough Rite showed up, I was like, that just screams Iron Hands, because it's literally just, it allows you to take predators as troops. So I was just like, I'm just gonna run a full tank army, and I took it to LVO like 2 or 3 times now. So it's just crazy, because it's just like 18, 20 tanks in a list.
yeah, I've played that army a few times. I've played it against my Iron Warriors and with my wolves and stuff, and it is hard to deal with. That's for sure. There's a lot of armor in your
Mhm.
face, so
What we really need to do is have a big tank battle.
yes,
Just
yes, we do.
that's where it'd be pretty awesome.
What do you mean? We did at
Well-
one of the at the end of the leagues, and I won the best overall because I ended up killing more units in the whole league. The whole
The match?
game.
Mega battle.
Yeah, because we played that mega battle, and it was
Oh,
literally
yeah.
it was
It's
like
true.
6-on-6 or something, and we
That was so
literally
long
had like
ago.
an apocalypse style game, and
That is
whoever
true.
destroyed the most hull points during the whole game won this, and I won the trophy.
Oh, yeah, big game hunter.
A big game hunter with
Yeah.
all my tanks.
Oh, that was. I think that was the.
That was a long time ago, man.
Yeah, that was like the first first main event that we did at the hall there.
Yeah, the first big league mega battle. at the
Kickoff,
end of
yeah.
it, so
That's awesome.
Well, I guess I know what we're putting on the docket.
Yeah, yeah.
Big game hunter.
So, no, awesome. Very cool. I guess rolling into the next question, which always kind of a nice. What's your favorite rite of war to use with these Iron
Well,
Hands?
Well, it's not necessarily an Iron Hands one, but the Armored Breakthrough is
Yeah.
probably the one I mostly go to. But my next favorite would be like an actual Iron Hands specific one. Would be the head of the Gorgon. It's kind of very similar because it allows you to take anyone who could take dedicated transports. It allows you to take land raiders instead, and it's just that's just the way to get more tanks in there because you're basically your TAC troops basically can just take a Phobos or a not an Achilles, the other one, Proteus.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
and
Nice.
it also gives you the blessing of the Messiah for free, basically. So your tanks just have a weaker, it will not die, and it also allows any tank to outflank,
Which is huge.
which is big. I've when I first started playing, I put flamer squads, flamer support squads in rhinos and have them, outflank and stuff like that. So also like vindicators outflanking is a huge thing too.
Oh, definitely.
No, for sure.
Especially
And
now
you're-
you can buy the machine spirit. So
And then there's a couple of minor things in there. Well, little things too, like your infantry are stubborn.
mm-hmm.
in
in
own
your deployment, yeah.
And then you can switch out like flamers for graviton guns.
Which I've never done because it's a heavy blast weapon, but
Yeah.
Right. And what's it says here all vehicles they gain blessed.
blessing
Right.
of the Messiah. That's
It's-
just what I call it.
Yeah,
Omniscia,
auto
I think.
simulacra or something like that. Weird. Let me roll the R there one more time. Yeah.
Basically, you roll if you get a hull point taken away, you roll, and on a 6+, you get that hull point back. Basically, your tanks are self-sufficient kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that ever come up ever, really. But been a while.
Yeah, that's true. It has been a while.
You can also take Battle on Tamanta as elite choices. So you can basically take another army as your elite choice, which is
Right.
good, instead of allying with Mechanicum themselves.
Huh.
So
And since we're on the Rites of War, the second one that they have, what's that one? That's Company of Bitter Iron.
yeah,
Company of Immortals.
it basically Immortals become troops.
Oh, the Medusan. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically everyone gets hatred traders, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
And then Medusan Immortals are stubborn when the majority of the units models are inside the enemy deployment. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, this is probably the best right for Zona Mortalis.
Yeah.
For one, it makes Immortals troops, and having hatred on everybody Like it's not a one-time thing. It's just the whole game. Everyone has hatred, which is awesome.
And then a couple limitations, kind of the normal thing, no allied detachments, no Shatter Legion. Actually, no, sorry. May only be used by an army that belongs to a loyalist faction and may not be used, in conjunction with the Shatter Legion theme. And then here's the last one on that limitation. It's may not include Ferrus Manus. Is that because his head's already gone or what?
Yeah, basically it's their surviving force after
Post Istvaan.
Yeah. It kind of follows that theme with the three armies, like because Ravengard has their version of it, and then the Salamanders have their version of it after Istvaan, right? So.
Yeah, it looks like because the Salamanders are actually right on the next side, but no Vulcan in that one, right? So.
Yeah.
Huh, cool. No, I actually never really looked at this until now, really. But if you like Immortals, and like you said, Zone Mortalis, that'd be good.
Either way, for sure.
Let us know what you.
What I like about that, right, too, is it doesn't force you to take Immortals. I mean, they become troops, but it's not like one of these other ones where it's like you have to take them.
Right.
So it doesn't turn into attacks. But
fair enough.
It is good though. I mean, it's not overpowering, but I mean, if you put it into a small game, it becomes a lot better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I like Breachers myself,
mm-hmm.
And even the armies that have their own kind of specific ones, pretty neat. Well, with the icons, because you're these guys have like the cog and everything on their shields, pretty much, don't they? Model-wise.
Yeah, they have the hand and everything on it, and all of them are all cyborged out with robotic arms and stuff.
Nice. Cool.
Rolling into continuing on the love of your Iron Hands. What is your favorite unit from the Legion, like an Iron Hand specific unit itself?
There's only two, and one's garbage, and the other one is the Immortals. So I'd have to say the Immortals. Breachers are awesome, and that's kind of a big 30K thing. Is Breachers became this huge thing, and they're Space Marines with shields, and then Immortals basically are the Iron Hand version, and they literally are better Breachers because they have Feel No Pain for free, and they have the option of taking Volkites instead of Bolters.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So basically, they become like a Breacher support squad.
Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's basically the unit
the main
I would
one.
choose. Hey? Yeah.
What's the other one? The other named unit?
The Gorgons.
Gorgons?
Yeah.
Why don't you like those ones then?
Well, for one, they're the only Space Marines specific that are in Indominus Terminator armor. Everyone else is Tartaros or Cataphracti. These guys are in Indominus. So they're kind of like a mix bag kind of thing. Like they can run, but they can't overwatch or something like that. So
can't sweep.
They can't sweep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And it's and they have a 5+ invuln. The other problem is if you save an invuln save, they cause a blinding test, which sounds cool, but it actually affects your units too. So you have to make a blinding test as well. You do get the ability. It does say in the rules that you get the ability to re-roll it, but I played a game and I failed it twice, and so I was just like, "This is the last time I'm probably going to use these."
Never again.
Yeah. So.
But to be fair, like the models are cool. Right?
Yeah.
They do have that classic feel, and I do remember you were starting to make some use out of them using some of the Mournival rules.
Oh, well, yeah.
Heavy destroyers.
I was taking the chest plates I basically just, when I got the Gorgons, the ones I didn't build, I literally was using the chest plates.
Yeah.
Because they got iron hands, like signias and like gears and stuff all over it. So
Nice. That's always awesome to see the conversion.
yeah.
Sweet.
I guess one of the last questions here before we start pumping into the book and getting deeper is your favorite fluff for the Legion.
They're basically assholes. They're loyalists, but they're just assholes. They literally, their whole thing is get out of my way or die kind of thing. Because they don't, when they go to a planet and take it over, they just destroy whatever's in the way. And if civilians don't want to help, they don't think twice about it. It's literally, oh, you're in my way, dead, right? Like they just throw them to the side, and it's just like this. They're literally unfazable. They don't really feel emotions, and then it shows in combat too, because they literally will shrug off shots, and they're literally walking, and they'll get shot, and they'll just go, they won't feel the pain or whatever you want to call it. It's just this like emotionless marine, but they're so good at what they do that the emperors just like do whatever you got to do, right? And they're not well known in the stories as like the Imperial Fists or the Iron Warriors was taking down walls and stuff, but the Iron Hands did it too. They were also a breacher.
Yep.
They would take down walls or defenses with heavy artillery and heavy tanks and stuff like that. They kind of have this like shock and awe feel. It's like do as much damage as you can with your heavy tanks to make people give up rather than making them surrender kind of thing. Just it's more of a hard fist rather than a soft touch.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Ferris isn't really depicted in the stories as being very forgiving or mild-natured Primarch.
No, because I forget what short story it was, but he's literally talking to his first captains, and they're scared to offend him because they're worried about him getting angry, right? Because he's just so irritable, but he does have that soft side. He's like Vulcan, right? He gets angry and tempers and smashes things, and then eventually it just settles down, and then he's like, "Okay, son, like I'm gonna tell you how to do it," kind of thing. But they don't want to piss him off at all.
No, they do talk about that quite a bit, about the Medusan temper, right? As it's flaring like a volcano, it's just always ready to blow, basically. So.
Yeah. Well, and the other fluff that I really like is Ferris Manus. I mean, obviously he dies. It's no spoiler. He dies like in the second or third book.
Spoilers.
But what's funny is he literally, when he lands on the planet of Medusa is like an ice planet, and so he basically roams these mountains, and he's basically like the Yeti. He's like this myth that he's like this stranger walking through the mountains because he doesn't want to socialize, but he's just there, and he eventually fights this wyvern. They call it a wyvern, but I'm pretty sure it's just a Necron thing. Robot. It's this giant snake-looking
it's
thing.
It's Canatech Wraith or something like that.
Yeah, and he ends up fighting it, and they end up on this volcano, and he ends up taking this wyvern and then drowning it in lava to melt it because he couldn't kill it, and that was the only way he could do it. Was literally him taking it and drowning it in lava and having it melt, and as it was melting in the lava, that's what covered his skin was silver.
Yeah, living metal, pretty much.
Which basically, was living metal, and that's how you got the silver hands, was fighting this Necron monster, and basically, getting living metal all over his arms. That's part of the fluff I like too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did. He does have some some good parts, especially like in some of the later stories. He may not be directly involved, but they do speak highly of him. I know I just finished Vengeful Spirit, and when Horus is talking to Mal, he actually brings Ferris up as like Ferris was the only other like of the brothers that actually had his like mindset for war.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about a couple other Primarchs, but he says Ferris was the one who really understood like the value of it, right?
Yeah.
This is pretty neat. So.
Oh, another Ferris fluff was Ferris Manus actually made a lot of the Primarch's weapons. Vulcan also did too, but Ferris Manus made a whole bunch. And there's a funny story part in I think it's First Heretic where the Emperor's like literally just to Logar was like, go down to the forge, Ferris is there. And this is the first time Logar meets Ferris. And Ferris is like, oh, you need a weapon? Here. Throws him the Morning Star or whatever his mace is called. Yeah. He's like, you need it because you're weak.
Yeah.
And Logar didn't really have anything to say, right? Because he's just like, Ferris Manus was just pounding metal and was just like, hey, get out of here. Here's your mace because you're so weak. I built it for you. So,
that's funny.
I don't know. He's just an asshole to everybody. Except Fulgrim. I'm pretty sure they were dating.
They're bros, man.
Dating.
Bros.
Yeah.
It's all good. So.
Well, they exchanged weapons, did they not?
Yeah, they had a contest of. Well, I think Fulgrim thought he could make a better weapon than Ferris, and Ferris was like, "Well, let's challenge each other, right? Like, spend weeks building these weapons, and then literally, that's kind of how Ferris ends up with the hammer. The hammer was built by Fulgrim because eventually he ended up befriending him through that whole contest,
yeah,
and so they ended up exchanging these weapons, and then. He grabbed the hammer, and then Ferris Manus made the fire blade for Fulgrim. So they ended up becoming bros that way through a contest.
And then that hammer ends up going somewhere else too, right? I believe.
Of course. You know it does.
You mean after Istvaan?
After the fact, yeah. After.
Yep.
I think it gets shared by a bunch of people. I think it eventually gets. Oh, you mean Perturabo?
Oh, you know who he meant.
Perturabo ends up getting it. But
yeah.
I know later on, someone else finds it, and I think there was a Raven. I think it's a Raven Guard guy ends up finding it or something as a treasure. I don't know. When Perturabo becomes a demon eventually.
Spoilers.
So.
Cool.
I guess we can get into like the Legion readout.
The Black Book, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I'll just start with like the actual readout here.
Sure.
They have the Legion of Astartes rule. They can regroup regardless of the size. In violet armor, all models with the Legion of Astartes Iron Hand special rule reduce the strength of all shooting attacks against them by -1, which is huge for shooting.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like no one can downplay that. Like it's in game terms, it is insane.
It just shows how indomitable they are, right? Like just getting shot, and it's just like shrug it off and just keep going, right?
Yeah.
But what makes it big is missiles. Missiles don't become instant killing anymore.
No.
Because they're technically strength 7, right?
On the characters and whatnot. Kind of.
Yeah, for characters with multi
I guess
and stuff.
I mean, if you had Feel No Pain.
That too, yeah. For Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
So any like strength 6 weapon. Strength 8 weapon. It's so hilarious to watch when people are like, okay, I'm gonna Fury the Legion. And I'm like, okay, it's Iron Hands, and they roll, and I'm like, so they're pulling out the the 1s and 2s and 3s, and I'm like, no, it's the 4s as well, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's the minus to strength, and they're like, -1, and they're like, so bolters are wounding on 5s, and they're like, pulling them out, and they're like, "Holy crap!" Like, I did 40 shots. I probably got 28 wounds, or sorry, hits, but I only wounded like 6 times, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's Iron Hands for you, right?" Like,
Now you know what an Imperial Guardsman feels like with Lasgun.
That's right. Yeah.
So bolters, I think, where it really hurts, because now you're wounding on 5s with a thing that's supposed to be wounding on 4s normally.
Yeah, it's the shooting game you don't want to get into with those guys.
Definitely.
And then the next one is stand and fight. All models with the Legion of Starry Iron Hands special rule must pass the leadership test in order to make sweeping advance after winning an assault, or to make a run move in the shooting phase. In addition, models with this special rule cannot voluntarily go to ground. So this one I don't really like as much, but it makes sense because they're kind of just, big, like golems, right? They're just mindless moving machines, and they just don't run, right? They're not scared. I think that's the whole point of them not being able to run, is just that they're not scared. That's why they don't go to ground, and that's why you can't run with them.
Yeah.
Or sorry, that's why you have to make a leadership to run. It's just that I don't know. I just feel like they don't like being scared. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, they're almost just like lumbering behemoths, pretty much.
Basically,
right?
Yeah. They're kind of like
they're kind of
salamanders.
Well, they're kind of like, they're not like, how do I say it? Not like slow paced, but they might have like a slower advance.
Yeah.
Right, because they talk about like the immortals and the Gorgon, right, and it gives you that feel of like these guys are like the super, the tanks, right?
Yeah.
The super heavy troopers that are they're taking hits, but they're slowly advancing, and they don't really, they kind of like, it seems like they stick together and not go out and gallivant to claim the huge glory, right? They kind of advance as a unit, so.
So yeah, I mean, this one's more fluffy in general, because it also hurts not being able to go to ground. It can be, it kind of sucks, because if you're sitting in train, you got one model left, and he's sitting in the objective, and it's just like, okay, I want that 3+ rather than a 4+. Your Iron Hands guys literally just, oh, I'm just gonna stand up, and put my head out the window, right? Like, but. I've felt the pain of making those leadership 9s for just to make a run move, and it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. Especially when you're trying to run towards an objective, eh?
Yeah. But it is what it is, right? And I've just learned that that's the way. I just don't even bother trying to go to ground anymore. So. Their next trait is rigid tactics. An Iron Hands detachment may not have more units with the Legion of Astartes special rule in total, including independent characters, with the jump infantry, bike, or jetpack type than it does with infantry type. Note that because of this, certain rights of war are unavailable to Iron Hands. So basically, you can't have more jump troop bikes than just boots. And I think that just comes into their fluff of they're not really fast, and they're not really, speeding through. That's basically
they travel in like the heavier armor, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and tanks are kind of their thing, and so I mean, I've never tried to put a jump pack on any of them or put them on bikes, but it's
probably the first 15.
Yeah. It is what it is, and it's kind of funny because you'll see guys make lists. They're like, "Oh, I want to play, the jump pack, right?" And then on the Iron Hands page, people just, you'll just see like 20 comments. You can't. It's funny. Now we're getting into like the war gear.
Yeah.
So starting with the Legion specific, Iron Hands have it's called an Iron Father. Any Praetor with the Legion of Astartes rule Iron Hands may be made into an Iron Father. They're given a servo arm in addition to their normal war gear, and feel pain 6+. And they also get the Battlesmith special rule for 40 points. If this is done, they can no longer be equipped with a jump pack, Space Marine bike, or jetpack or jet bike. It's a little expensive, and I've only ever used it in like fluffy situations, but it's kind of cool to have your Praetor be able to fix vehicles with the Battlesmith rule, and you also get one free servo arm attack, which is basically like a power fist. And the 6+ feel no pain is pretty good. It's it's just free.
It's better than nothing, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and an Iron Father is basically like the highest rank you can become in a clan for Iron Hands. So, like in the stories, these Iron Fathers, they're basically they kind of have a dual role. They're basically the leaders of clans, but they're also sort of the chaplains because they're the ones that keep everybody in line.
Okay.
There was I forget what book it was. It's either the third. I think it's the third book when they're fighting, or maybe it's Fulgrim. I can't remember. But what happens is there was a ship captain. He ends up failing in one mission, so Ferris actually sent this Iron Father to come watch him to make sure he's actually doing his job. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's early.
Yeah, and
I think that was in Fulgrim. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Fulgrim. And the one guy's just like, man, I don't like this guy watching me the whole time because the guy's an asshole, right? He's just like, get going, do your job. You can't fuck up this time, or we're gonna demote you, kind of thing, right? So they're like basically the top rank. I don't think they're like top captains, but I think they're just the leaders of the clans. And because that's how the Iron Hands work, is clans rather than
chapters or whatever.
Chapters or whatever, yeah.
That's awesome.
So getting into the war gear, there's I call it the Blessing of the Messiah, but it's Auto Mishima Lu for 10 points, you can upgrade your tank. And what it is if you lose a hull point, and on a D6 roll of a 6, you gain that hull point. So it's basically a weaker, it will not die, but any vehicle can buy it, which is pretty nice. So basically, take it on like dreadnoughts and stuff like that. Try and get hull points back. The second war gear is the Cyber Familiar. Any Iron Hands character not already able to do so may take a Cyber Familiar for 15 points. And basically what a Cyber Familiar does is it gives you a +1 to your any invuln, or if you don't have one, it gives you a 6+ invuln. And it also lets you re-roll character tests.
Which is huge.
So, yeah, a lot of guys say they don't take it, but I take it on every character I can. Because that +1 to invuln, I think is big, and you don't really notice it. Like you're like, oh, a Praetor is already 4+, but now you can make a Praetor 3+, and if anyone knows, a 3+ invuln is almost unkillable in a lot of cases. You end up being able to shrug off a lot, and it works a lot too with Centurions, because Centurions can only have a 5+ invuln.
Yeah, so you're giving them a Iron Halo
Familiar,
basically. Yeah,
so basically, you'll give them the Refractor Field, and you give them Cyber Familiar, and it basically costs the same points as an Iron Halo, anyways, because Refractor Field's 10 points, and then this is 15 points, so it's 25 points, which is basically the cost of an Iron Halo.
Yeah.
Which I take a lot on basically all my characters. And then we're getting into the rights now. I don't know if anyone else wants to read it. Maybe people are tired of hearing my voice.
Well, we did talk about Head of the Gorgon. Basically as being one of your pretty much one of your favorite ones.
Yeah. And then we talked about the other one. Then I guess we can go into Gorgons then, the Terminators.
The one thing that I guess one of the things, like just to chime in about the rights, is how between your Legion rules and then some of the rights that you have, like the head of the Gorgon especially, just I think Iron Hands do tanks better than anybody, right? Considering being able to have the outflank is just it's insane, right? Like I've played against it, I've watched it happen at LVO, I've watched it happen in local games, and yeah, it's when these tanks are just coming out of the woodwork all over the place. It doesn't matter what side you're outflanking on. Usually they're fast, right? Like it's a Sikaran or something, or another Vindicator, and they're just coming out and just guns blazing, right? It's just you can't downplay that part. It's just devastating.
Well, I guess we can read the limitations just because we talk about how good it is, and I honestly think the limitations aren't even that terrible. Because one of the limitations is you can only take one single fast attack, which isn't a huge thing if you're filling that heavy support slot anyways, right?
Yeah. Well, let's be real. If you're taking a fast, it's probably going to be a lightning or javelins, right?
Lightning,
yeah, some air support.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And that, in the past, I've only ever just taken like a Storm Eagle, so just for that, that air and that air support. But there's not a whole lot in the fast attack slot anyways.
Yeah.
And then with the exception of a Forge Lord type, detachments with this right may only take a single console as part of their HQ, which actually isn't a huge deal either. For me anyways, because there's a bunch of characters that don't consider console type, so I normally don't take a lot of consoles with this right anyways. And then this detachment, you can't ally with Space Marines, with another Space Marine, which is, they're all
common,
a lot of the rights have those, right? So but the limitations are so minor compared to what you get from the actual right itself.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And then I guess we're going into the Gorgons, the Terminators.
Yeah, for sure. I can read them.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gorgon Terminator Squad, their elite choice, 200 points. You get 5 of them. The sergeant is the Hammer Bearer. Cool name.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgon pattern Terminator armor, which we discussed earlier, which is
Indominus.
And then you pass an invulnerable save. 4+ models within 6 inches have to take a blind test, right? So and then friendly units re-roll that test. But they're equipped with Combi Bolter, Power Axe, and then the Sergeant, the Hammer Bearer, which is fitting, has a Thunder Hammer.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Not too bad, not too shabby. Implacable Advance. They have a Feel No Pain 5+.
Yeah.
It's nice, considering you're pretty much rocking Apothecary for free. And for the points on the squad being 200 for a squad of 5, that's pretty damn good value, right? Like you're only 25 points more than regular
Standard.
Legion terms. Yeah.
And their stats are literally Legion terms, except for their initiative.
Yeah.
Which they have Power Axes and Thunder Hammers. And then they can switch them out for Power Fists. Or Chain Fists. So the initiative really...
They can buy Lightning Claws, but
they're
still fighting at initiative 3.
Yeah.
Like most Terminators are taking Power Fist or Chain Fist.
Yeah.
Right? So.
But it forces you to have to take those unwieldy weapons rather than if you're like, oh, I just want Gorgons with Lightning Claws, right? Then you just.
Mm-hmm.
But.
And then your Sarge or whatever can have like normal like grenade harness.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the combi weapon option for the other Terminator, or actually for him as well. The Sergeant. Cyber Familiar he gets as well.
Yeah.
Can for 10 points.
That's pretty good.
And then,
There's one thing you're missing from for every 5 models, one can
Yeah.
take. There's something you're missing there that's huge.
yeah, for every 5 models, they can exchange a combi bolter for the following weapons: heavy flamer, Reaper autocannon, and a graviton gun.
Mm-hmm.
So
The graviton gun is what's the big thing there.
Yeah.
Being able to have like an anti-tank, haywire blast weapon on a Terminator, so that
for
Terminator
sure.
can actually move and shoot it, right?
Yeah, there's not many out there that actually get the option. I know we've talked about it before, like, you know, would you not pay 10 points for a combi grab if you could on your Terminators? Like,
Yeah.
it's that's a whole nother topic for a different meta thing. That's breaking the meta with Mechanicum, what is it? Hoplites. So that's yeah. We'll talk about that at another point.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for 200 points, like, you know, their invulnerable save is not as good as Cataphracti, right? Because they're 5+.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, 200 points, they're decent. Because what's Tartarus is the same thing, right? 200 points.
No, they're 175.
175 for base, yeah.
So basically, you're buying the Feel No Pain.
Yeah, but for only 25 points, and your apothecary couldn't do it anyway, so you're up 20 points and an elite slot.
Yeah.
So you're laughing there, right? Like,
and then you start doing it, which aren't too bad.
Yeah.
What's funny is in the stories they talk about a different type of Terminator, like
the actual Medusans, aren't they?
I
thought that's what they're called. Yeah, but they never come up. Like, that's one thing I wanted to see, was like a Medusan command squad or something like that, because you hear about them all marching up and doing their thing.
But they don't
basically have like Ferrus Manus' personal guard, right? They're the guys that they're in the first with the first captain, and they literally, that's their role, is to be like wherever Ferrus goes, that's where they go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they basically talk about them being like these mobile tanks, right? These, but they're just, I don't know. It's just funny that they ended up with the Gorgon Terminators, which no one's even heard of, right?
Yeah, yeah, because I do know that they do make mention to it when they're talking. I think it's in the Vulcan book, but when they're talking about Ferrus and the Medusans all locking pretty much shoulders, all their cataphracti kind of, they all lock as one big wedge, and they just don't stop. The wedge just keeps moving, because if they stop, they may not catch up to the rest of the force because they are slow, and they just keep, trudging along. And
Morlocks.
Oh, I thought it was Medusans, but that's what maybe the Immortals were getting me twisted there.
Yeah, they're called Morlocks.
That's pretty neat. They got some badass names. Medusan, Gorgon.
Yeah.
And then the other one there. Yeah, that's awesome. But speaking of Medusan,
they've actually been updated. I don't know if you have the FAQ ready, Andy.
You know what? I do not.
I do. I'll just read it.
Do you have it? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So they got FAQ'd in the last big FAQ 2 years ago, that because Forge World's so slow.
I think so.
They basically there's 10 in a squad. They cost 205. Their weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness is all the same. Their initiative's actually 4, leadership 8 and 9, 3+ armor. Their war gear, they come with bolt pistols, bolt guns, frag and crack grenades, boarding shields, power armor. Their special rules: Iron Hands, Gun Them Down, Feel No Pain 5+, and Hardened Armor. Going through their options, you can buy 10 more for 12 points. Any Medusan Immortal and any veteran sergeant may exchange their bolt gun for Volkites for 2 points. It used to be 5 points, but they changed it to 2 points. So they can buy Volkite Chargers. Any Medusan Immortal or Veteran Sergeant may exchange their bolt gun for a chainsword. The shield can't grant you any bonuses if you take it. So I never take a chainsword on them.
Yeah.
For every 5 models in the squad, you can take a flamer, melt a gun, graviton gun, las cutter. Probably a melted gun would be the best option.
Yeah.
Because grab guns you have to move, or sorry, if you move, you can't shoot it. Las cutters you hit at weapon skill 6 or weapon skill 1 with 1 hit in close combat.
Yeah, such a cool name, and yet it just underperforms in actual game terms.
Don't know what it really like. Yeah, it's probably for like breaching doors and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like basically a tool, right? Like that's basically what it is a torch to open doors. But it's just, I don't even know why they add it and why it's even 10 points. It should be like free.
Just use a melted gun. Wow.
Veteran sergeants may replace their bolt gun and or their pistol for one of the following: plasma pistol, power weapon, single lightning claw, power fist, thunder hammer. I'd probably just take a power fist just to have that, AP2, strength 8. A veteran
the theme. I do like the theme, like with the thunder hammer and like a lot of these.
Oh,
units,
I guess,
right?
yeah. With the shields.
Well, they're forge, like they work the forge too, right?
Yeah.
So the hammer is kind of like a symbol for them too, what it seems like. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't buy it because it's 20 points, but I get what you're saying. It would look thematic.
Yeah.
And then the veteran sergeant can be upgraded to artificer, melta bombs, and 1 breacher charge, which I've never used. But so we're getting into their special rule: gun them down. This attack may only be made so long as after the target unit falls back. The Medusan Immortals would no longer be engaged in combat after making... Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. Medusan Immortal squad may not attempt to make sweep in advance, so they can't sweep at all. Instead of rolling to make a sweep in advance roll, the controlling player may choose to have the Immortals shoot as if they were shooting in the shooting phase against a single squad falling back. However, weapons with the blast weapons may not be fired when making them gun them down, and any template weapon is D3 automatic hits on fleeing units. Resolve these attacks at normal strength and AP value instead of using the template to allocate this. This is done before any falling back models. So it sounds cool, but wouldn't you rather just wipe out the whole unit if they fail?
You would, well, okay, if you can catch them.
Yeah, I guess I still have to roll for a leadership test and all that, right? But it sounds cool. Like it's a whole breacher thing, rather than because they're in formation, right?
Yeah,
they're not going to break formation to
breaking the line, right? It's like that. It's like that scene in 300, right?
Yeah,
they're all in the line, and the one guy is off showboating, and then he gets his head decapitated. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's what it sounds like. They're very regimented, and they stay in formation, and they all are interlocked and walk, go as one kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and then
so that's pretty cool, actually. I really like that.
So if they win combat, basically they don't break formation to try and kill them, and they'd rather just shoot them than actually break formation.
I'd probably just rather shoot them too. To be honest, I don't feel like running.
It's just even with like in comparison to just the regular Legion Breacher siege squad, 200 points versus 205. Like I don't see why you would never take Medusans, right? Like.
Oh yeah, if you're playing Iron Hands, for sure.
Point for point, they're so much better
because they get feel no pain, and then the ability to buy Volkite Chargers.
Yeah, it's
so because these guys are 12 points each. I think Breachers are 10 points.
15.
15 to buy them.
In addition, yeah, they're 200 for 10, and then it's 15 points. So it's just like it's crazy. Like it's just Yeah, point for point, like Forge World, if you're listening, please fix Breacher squads.
Yeah, they need to be cheaper.
They do. I think 175 opens them up into a realm where, people might actually start playing around with them.
Yeah.
And then you make them 13 points each, just like the Assault Squad, right?
Yeah.
Because they're starting to creep up because they are cheaper now. So it's just
I know mine for the Ultramarines are a little bit pricier, just because I give them that extra upgrade with Power Sword on each of them. But either way, like, tons of people want to play with Breachers.
Yeah. It's so I can kind of go. Originally, the Mortals had a whole bunch of points that were ridiculous. I'll quickly just go over what I see. So originally in the first book, they started out at 250, which was huge for just like a 10-man squad, and then they jumped them down to 205.
Yeah.
They still cost 12 points for extra models, and then Volkites were 5 points in addition. So it eventually, they become 17 points each, which was crazy. And I think in book 2 they used to have a 6+ Feel No Pain, but when they got jumped to the red book here, they basically gave them a 5+.
Yeah.
But they fixed the wording on Gundam Down, because Gundam Down was like, oh, you got to choose if you wanted to sweep or shoot, and then you still had to make a leadership test. And then if you pass your leadership test, you basically you got to shoot as normal. But
so they cleaned them up a bit.
Yeah, they just made the wording a lot simpler and made it just so you never sweep. You just automatically get to shoot them.
Nice.
But if you're taking Volkites anyways, you're gonna end up getting those deflag rates. So
definitely
better. Probably.
Yeah, definitely a better unit all around.
I'll read my favorite character here. And
I was gonna say you may as well. It's your boy right there. So
I don't think I've not played a game with him other than Zone of Mortalis, where he can't actually get into a tank there. Yeah. But Spearhead, Centurion, Casterman, Orth. He's the only character that's able to command a tank.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, I'll just read his little real tank. Where is it? Spearhead Commander. While Casterman Orth is inside a vehicle, it uses his ballistic skill of 5 and benefits from the Tank Hunter special rule. Which is crazy because, any tank becoming ballistic skill 5 and then giving it Tank Hunter makes it too good.
It's insane.
And he's only 80 points. So he's an auto occlude every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've seen that.
To me, that just screams Proteus with the 3 las cannons, and you just sit in there and just fire away with 3 twin link las cannons with Tank Hunter. Insane.
While my favorite was always putting them in the Laser Destroyer Vindicators.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then having a squadron of them and then giving Tank Hunter to the rest of them. And then you basically re-roll every hit because they're twin linked. And then you get to re-roll to pen and your strength 9 AP 1. You're going to wreck whatever's in the way, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I'll just go through his little war gear and stuff. So power armor, fractor field, frag and crack, bolt pister, power maul, cyber familiar. He's independent character, Legion Astartes, Spearhead Commander, Tank Hunter. He's basically just the standard Centurion. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 5, strength, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks, leadership 9, 3+ armor. He's not a fighting guy, and he also, if he gets blown out of a tank, he just leaves that tank. So it's awesome that way because he's not what's the Ultramarine guy from 40? Cronus, yeah. Because he would just die, right, with the tank.
Yeah.
And this guy just pops out, and he's basically just a centurion with a power maul. After that, he's basically useless. Because he's usually in a tank and he's up front or somewhere or in the backs. He's usually by himself.
He's got a bionic eye. He's got a
Oh, so
bionic eye. Don't be hating.
So he can't actually jump into another vehicle then, eh? Like to
No, he can't like just host it or whatever. So
right.
But his warlord trait is called Tank Crusher. If chosen as the army's warlord, Castamere Orth automatically has the Tank Crusher trait rather than rolling randomly. If Castamere Orth is your warlord, then all vehicles with the tank type in your primary detachment gains +1 to the result when inflicting a vehicle damage. On the vehicle damage table when making ramming attacks. It doesn't come up that much because ramming screws up your shooting. But it is funny when you start ramming with rhinos and stuff like that, because now they're actually wounding one better. And it barely comes up. Usually when I'm ramming, it's because weapons got blown off and it's become useless. So
yeah,
but I don't know. It's okay. It's fluffy and it's themey. That's basically.
Usually when I'm ramming with rhinos, it's because it's not a kill point game and you don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Just Hail Mary. So.
Yeah, because you want to try and get that one hull point off or something, right? Or you want to try and do something just crazy. Or you want to try and smash through people because the rhino will just move people out of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, displace them.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess someone can read about Autek.
Yeah, I can read about him, the Iron Father, Autek Moore. He's actually, like, at first glance, not a bad character, a little pricey. So he's rocking pretty much your Praetor stat line, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill, strength, and toughness of all 5. I think that is why now he's a little more expensive, right? Just honestly, like, we'll get into more. So 3 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks, 10 leadership, and a 2+ armor. So he's rocking Cataphractii Terminator armor. He's got a servo arm, Cortex controller, Paragon blade. Okay, so I see. Volkite charger. Just with that alone, he's pretty good.
He can't be instant death by any shooting weapon.
No.
Toughness 5.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah. So special rules are independent character, fearless, Legion Astartes, Iron Hands, bulky, battlesmith, master of the Legion, jealous command. Which basically, if he must be your warlord unless Ferrus Manus is also present, and he has a warlord trait, murderous arsenal. So automatically has this trait rather than rolling. If he's your warlord, then both he and a single chosen infantry unit may be given preferred enemy infantry. Pretty good. Definitely excels in close quarters, like Zone Mortalis fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
the warlord trait, because he has it himself, preferred enemy. So in combat, it gives it to him in the unit, right? So it's good that way because then you're re-rolling everything in combat.
Yeah.
And then he's allowed to give it to one other separate unit, and it's always heavy support.
Oh yeah.
If I were to ever do it, right? Because you give it to them, and you usually go with the anti-infantry stuff, like the Volkite charger. No, Volkite.
Culverins.
The big, culverins, right? Or missile launchers. So. And if anyone's seen any of Armin's games or played against Armin, and you know how hard enemy and Volkites work,
yeah,
you know that it's just
shenanigans.
Yeah.
So I mean, and him being fearless is awesome too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. The strength 5 got me really excited, and then once I'm looking, I'm like, oh, okay, he's got a Paragon blade, so he's strength 6. I was like, well, that's not bad, honestly. You're wounding most things on 2s, which is pretty sweet, and then with the preferred enemy, you're re-rolling the 1s, right? T5 is where he really shines, and having a 2+, 4+, I definitely expected him to have a core Cyber Familiar.
Yeah.
Right, being an Iron Father, you would think, but let's be real. If he had, T5 and he had 3+ invulnerable, he'd probably be a little too good. He's the proto Custodes. He's what's
Yeah.
left from a Thunder Warrior. I don't know. So, but
yeah,
awesome model.
in the fluff, he's such an asshole too. Like just the whole Iron Hands thing is just being asshole. He literally, what he'll do too is he'll if anyone slights him in any way, he's just like, let's go to the the combat cages, and he'll accidentally wink wink kill those guys.
Jeez.
Because he's just such an asshole about it, and he eventually just jumped right to the top, and just because he's such a badass. But he's also a Terran by birth.
Oh, okay.
So there's like this little weird thing because they don't really trust him, but he's such an asshole. I don't know. Ferris likes him.
It's like a lot of the legions. It's like nobody likes the Terrans.
Yeah. Well,
they're
they
just
come to your
different, right?
planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a different crew.
But you know what I have noticed that like since we've been doing these Legion overviews, and it kind of spat out here too, is we keep looking at these units and it's like these would be really good in Zone Mortalis. And we haven't really played a lot of Zone Mortalis, just pretty much what you've seen on the show there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a good realization of, hey, these guys are actually be fun to play in that.
Well, it's just that these guys are good in those situations because the problem is when you play an actual game, nobody's running these big expensive specific Legion blobs because they can have a vehicle that will just take them out in one turn. That's kind of why you don't see like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just the meta, right?
Yeah.
And then we're getting
usually
into
for competitive meta.
Yeah, I was gonna say there is the shift happening, right? So you might see these Legion specific squads, not to mention some Mournoval units and stuff creeping into games where it could be actually bringing that flavor back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
So
now we're getting into like Ferris Manus himself.
Yeah, the big dog,
the Gorgon, the Worm Slayer, the Bane of Airs North, the Great Iron Father.
That's quite the title.
Yeah.
Oh, they all do, but he's just got all these fancy ones. Weapon skill 7, kind of standard. Ballistic skill 6, pretty standard. Strength 7, which he's on the higher end.
Yeah, not very standard.
Yeah. Toughness 7, which isn't standard. Him and Vulcan basically are the only two, I think.
I think Mortarion?
More.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. And then 6 wounds, pretty standard there. Initiative 5, so he's actually below standard with that one because 6 is usually the average. Same with his attacks at 4. And leadership 10, weapon skill, 2+ save. His special rules, Primarch, all the same stuff. Sire of the Iron Hands, Master of Mechanicisms, and very bulky. He's war gear. He's got the Medusan Carapace and the Forge Breaker. Starting with his special rules, Sire of the Iron Hands. Ferris Manus has the Relentless and Smash special rule. This was written like, the second book. So him having Relentless doesn't really make sense. But whatever. And Smash. I've never used Smash once. Because there's no point in giving up 2 attacks when he's already... giving up all of his attacks to re-roll the pen.
Yeah.
But he does have an AP2 at all times, which is good. So, yeah, basically... So the Smash works when he loses his hammer. Because he's got to rule the death of Ferris Manus. At a price reduction, he basically loses Forge Breaker. So now his hands are AP2, which is awesome.
Yeah. No, that's not bad at all. If you're using the Smash, right?
Yeah. Or I don't know. I've never used them without the hammer. So
yeah.
Continuing his Sire rules. All models with the Legion of Astartes Iron Hand special rule in your army containing Ferrus Manus gains the Feel No Pain 6+ special roll, unless they already possess a superior version of it. He's not really a leader like the rest of the guys. He literally just makes people feel like they're stronger than they are. There's no like leadership bonus or anything like that, like a lot of the other guys have.
Because most guys are like, oh, +1 leadership to your whole army.
Yeah.
So.
Where he also, the other part of his rule is Ferrus Manus is a master artificer and possesses the battlesmith rule and passes the repair rolls on a 3+.
Yeah.
So he basically just repairs anything you want. In addition, in a primary detachment that contains Ferrus Manus, all vehicles with at least one armor value of 13 gains It Will Not Die.
Yeah,
so
predators
are your friend.
Yeah. He so what he does is he doesn't help the infantry as much, so he helps vehicles more, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because everybody can fix it, and he has his best guys there, kind of thing. And it's because that's what happened in that big mega battle was when I won because I wasn't losing hull points because everyone had Blessing of the Messiah, and then everyone had It Will Not Die, which you roll 2 different dice, and eventually you're going to end up getting hull points back. So it's crazy when you have an all tank army and they're not dying. His Carapace, Medusan Carapace, he's got a 2+, 3+, which is huge. So he's basically a tank. That you can kind of see it in his stats with his low attacks and his high toughness. He has a Nuncio Vox and a servo arm. Ferrus weapon can also fire 2 weapons in the following phase. He's equipped with a plasma blaster, graviton gun, grenade harness, unlimited use, and heavy flamer. The only things I've ever used mostly is the plasma blaster and a graviton gun.
Yeah, the best ones, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I've used grenade harnesses because he doesn't actually have grenades equipped.
For grenades, yeah.
Like every other Primarch has. So I have to use it if I want to charge in a fight at Initiative 5. Otherwise, or into terrain and stuff.
Yep.
And then he's got Forge Breaker. And then, which is double strength, AP1, melee concussive strike down. Strike down I don't really get because it's more of a shooting thing. But he has it. Concussive. It's basically just the Thunderhammer. That's AP1.
Yeah.
Well, he's striking at initiative.
For whatever reason, per travel makes it better.
Well, I have to strike at initiative 1.
Oh, because you're unwieldy, because you can't hold it. But you get blind with it, though.
Yeah, but I'm immune to blind. The logo seal.
You are, but you can blind everyone else with the Thunderhammer.
It's Perturabo, man. He don't care about anybody else. That's
basically him.
They are.
He's not very big. You can, like I said, you can take him out without the hammer, and he's 40 points less. It's basically if you want to do a narrative, because when he fights Fulgrim, he doesn't have the hammer because Fulgrim actually has the hammer at that time on Istvaan 3 or Istvaan 5.
5, yeah.
5, yeah. So
fighting him with fists.
Yeah, he can just fight with his fists but he has smash, so they're at AP2, which is nice. But him being there's a part I missed in the armor. So shooting attacks are at -1 for him.
-1 to hit?
-1 strength.
Oh, -1 strength.
Yeah. So he's toughness 7, right? And weapons are at -1, means bolters can't actually hurt him. Because they become strength 3.
Being a T7, yeah.
Yeah, it's double +1, right? So bolters can't actually hurt him. And there was a while there where veteran snipers could take him down.
Oh, with the
with sixes of rending.
It always wounded on 4s, right?
Oh yeah, with that's the old
poison.
yeah.
So,
Huh.
because they became like the bane of Primarchs.
Yeah.
That's when veterans were,
Everybody was taking sniper
commonly
bets,
used.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marksman or whatever it was called.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that's changed now, at least. Like,
It was nice while it lasted, but it was a little overpowered, especially against like Mechanicum and like the high toughness guys that aren't supposed to die to bolters.
well,
So
how many people are guilty? I used to run, 5 or 6 combi flamers, just to lay down the flamers and woo rending and just take them all out, right? Like just insane.
Yeah, I've been afflicted by that, especially Bill's flamers popping out of a Reiner or something. And just but yeah, the veterans.
No, he doesn't have a lot. Like he's basically just 2+3+, gives tanks. It will not die. Units get 6+ feel no pain. Forge Breaker is literally just a Thunderhammer. There's nothing cool about it. Like Vulcan has instant death and all that stuff.
Well,
but
with strength 10, it's kind of implied, right? Like,
yeah.
Although there are units out there that can definitely give him a run for his money. At his points level though, 455, he's pretty decently pointed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to some of the newer ones like Russ and stuff like that, it might be a little high now, but still not bad.
Yeah.
Definitely tanky.
He's got some cool rules, right?
Yeah.
Some neat stuff.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, if you're, comparing like the Primarchs and whatnot, and who's the better fighter, well, he's not a slouch, but he's not, he's not top of the tier either, right? So
he can survive longer because of the 3+, but yeah, he sometimes those 4 attacks kind of hurt because a lot of the other Primarchs are weapon skill 7 or up, and if he's fighting someone, he's always hitting on 4s, and then like that's 50-50, so you're what, two dice, and then you're probably wounding every single time, but every time you get a 1, it hurts a lot. And the biggest problem I have with Ferrus Manus is that headless joke that I get every friggin' time. It's like, oh, did you build a model without a head? Where's his head? Oh, his head's still on his body.
Just tell him I magnetized it, bro.
You just sit there going, yep. You're not the first person to, make that joke. It's funny, though, because when we were starting, like the whole heresy thing back, like, 10 years ago or whatever, we were all, Brandon, our buddy, he was like, you're playing a Primarch that dies first, right? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, like, you're playing a guy, he literally is the first Primarch to die in the whole series. He's the only one that dies through the whole series until, like, the end. So, it's like you're literally playing it, and it's like, if you want to play fluff, you can't go very far with Ferrus. Istvaan, that's it.
Yeah. We're always playing pre-Istvaan.
Yeah, basically. Then per travel can't ever use his Thunderhammer then.
That's fine, even without the hammer, he's still strength 7 AP too. He's wearing cool armor, so.
No, they're definitely, they basically, they become my bread and butter. I don't know. I can't think of not having them.
Yeah.
Just honestly, I've been collecting them since book 2 came out, and
they're your jam, right?
Yeah, I've probably got I'm gonna guess 10 to 15K of Iron Hands. Maybe not all of it's painted, but I have so many tanks. I have so many Marines. I have so much. Like, I've just been collecting for so long, and
oh yeah,
no, it's awesome.
They're basically my baby.
Yeah.
And I like that they're not they're not out there. No one spams them. Like you don't see a lot of people playing them. Not like the Iron Warriors, where every second guy is playing an Iron Warriors list, right? So
This is true.
Gotta cut me deep.
My
Cut me
first,
deep.
my first LVO that I went to, it was funny because my first match was against a guy playing Iron Hands,
yeah,
and then after playing yourself, Dan, like, and then going and playing like this guy in like the tournament, and I was just like, whoa, this guy has like a completely different style army, and it's just kind of like slightly throws you off because you're like, oh, this guy's gonna have all these tanks, but no. And even the way the mission was, it's one of those missions where you had to definitely like play tactically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, his big squad's over there. Let's ignore that and let's get out of here. And
what's funny about that year? So that year was the year I brought my Iron Hands. There was 4 Iron Hands players there, and that was the first time I've ever seen that many Iron Hands players all together in one room, and it was crazy. And it was funny too because I came with my armored breakthrough Rite and just had all these tanks, and I had all these guys come up to me, and they're like, "Are the Iron Hands guys?" They're like, "Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw it on the page, right?" Because we were all connected through the Iron Hands like Facebook page. Like, "Oh, I saw that list, right?" And you're like, "How's it doing?" And I'm like, I'm winning most of my games, and they're like, "Oh, I got to do that now," and it's funny. It's just like, I felt like this big brother because I've been playing them so long, and it's like, I eventually found what worked for me, and it was a good time. And I don't like using that list too much because it makes people cry, because it's just like, I think every Predator has last cannons, and then the Vindicator arrays, and it's just strength 9, AP 2 or 1 all across the table, and just watching these guys get blown off the table was. Plus, I took the Stormlord or Storm Sword, which was like this massive
Shadow
blast, ignores cover, super heavy, and after that, I was just like, I'm done taking this list to LVO because it just felt like I was just drinking people's tears, and I think I ended up in 4th. Behind like Armin and Alex and the one other guy. So
James.
The next James wasn't there that year. I think.
Oh, that's
Gregory.
right. Yeah, I think Greg. Yep.
Yeah. So the next year I ended up coming with White Scars and came in second last. But that's a different time and story. But
yeah.
So it's just it's definitely solid. I think they're underrated.
I think they are
underrated.
Too. I think they are too.
Because there's so many times where I've had Terminators survive for so long on an objective, and I've won so many games with just like one Terminator left, and people just shooting as much as they can into it, and having that minus strength to it, and then because I can buy you'd buy the Cyber for the sergeants, and then you have a 3+ on the Cataphracti guy, and I'm just sitting there tanking. I'm just laughing. I'm like, but they're definitely good. It kind of sucks that they don't have a whole lot in the stories themselves, other than like at the beginning. Well, you kind of hear about them in like Black Shields or like little fluff like Shattered Legions kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Sons of Cellular.
Yeah,
on there.
So I mean, they're not as big and popular as like Ultramarines or Sons of Horus, right? Like just because there isn't a whole lot, and usually when they show up in books, it's usually like one guy or like one Tech Marine or whatever, right? That he's like left over from Instagram.
Yeah, just riddled with rage and PTSD.
Oh, we forgot about Shadrach Medusa.
Sorry?
He's Shadrach Medusa. He's a character for the Iron Hand.
Oh, he's in
book 6.
The other books.
When they
that's
add
right.
Oh, yeah. Because I was going to say,
for it,
I don't remember seeing him in the Red Book.
Because he basically just becomes... So he's basically just a Praetor He just has a power sword that's rending. That's kind of his war gear. But his special, like his ability though, is he if you take like a Shattered Legions list, he's allowed to run a Rite that isn't his, and he gets to pick from the Salamanders or Raven Guard. Because in a Shattered Legion, to take a Rite, you have to have your warlord has to be from that specific legion.
Yeah.
Shadrach, since he was kind of like the leader of the Shattered Legions, I haven't listened to him, but I kind of just read his stuff from Wiki and whatever I've heard from the guys that have read the stories. But he basically becomes like this leader for the Shattered Legions. And the Shattered Legions were pretty much like the Salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands, who were all left over and became like this single force kind of thing. And so he's allowed to take any Rite from the Raven Guard, Salamanders, or Iron Hands, even though he's not one of the two. So that's kind of his kind of gimmick. So
Which is pretty sweet.
yeah, I don't know what else to talk about the Iron Hands. I think I talked a lot, too much.
I
maybe.
think that kind of
Pretty
gave a well-rounded thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
anybody listening, as always, if you think we missed something or we overlooked something, definitely comment, chime in, let us know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because yeah, we definitely appreciate all the feedback, no matter what. I know we have it in that little spiel in the beginning too, but we just can't get that message out enough. Like, we want to hear the feedback. Ask us questions if you think, you want to bounce some ideas off of Dan for your Iron Hands. Ask away.
Oh, I just remembered something. The other reason I started playing Iron Hands was they're the only Legion that got Legion specific units. And they also got Iron Hands Tactical Marines.
That's true.
They're not like anything special. All they are is literally Tactical Marines that you can buy separate that have like robotic legs and robotic arms and then like shoulder pads that look like gear cogs but they're not Legion specific anything, and they're the only army to get a Legion like a specific Tactical Marine set out of all the armies.
I will admit I have a few of those upgrades in my Iron Warriors to make them look cooler.
And well, I mean, they obviously don't have like, they did like the weird thing where they came out with like Iron Father character, who's basically should have just been Odd Tech,
Yeah.
And Castleman never got a model, but he's literally all you have to do is glue like a dude's shoulder pads and a head on in a hole, right, for a tank.
But if you don't have Bionic Eye, then no way, man.
Well, I always said that Valkyr or whatever his name is, you gotta drill that eye out, right?
Kier Valen, yeah,
Kier Valen,
roast that eyeball. No Nick Fury eye patch, just a dead socket.
With the Iron Hands, though, there's a lot of hobby-wise. There's a lot of good and great opportunities for a lot of conversions.
Yes.
I know we've talked in the past, like way back, like robotic parts and stuff, actually stealing some like plastic Necron legs and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few of those,
to make conversions like that, which is a pretty cool idea. And if you are doing like the armored breakthrough and stuff and using a lot of tanks, like the detail work you can do on tanks with weathering and chipping and all that is just it's beyond me, right? Like, even Dan, when you first did your painting, right?
Yeah.
You started off pretty straightforward, and then you decided to go back and hit your tanks up with more details and up the game on it.
Oh yeah,
they look great, right?
Well, originally I was trying to paint them like 40k with the black and then the white weapons, and I ended up not liking that, and I ended up finding a metallic black for my my Iron Hands. So it's got like, it's almost like a very, very dark silver. And it really fits, I think, with the Iron Hands, being all mechanical and like its shininess. Because a lot of times you'll see, I didn't want to do, because what a lot of the Heresy guys do is they try to do like oil stained armor with like the purple and the greens kind of thing.
Right.
You know, like that little, like, you know, when you see like a oil in a puddle and you got like those rainbowy colors that come out of it.
Like for the old school guys, the Excalibur armor.
Yeah, and a lot of guys try to do that, and it looks awesome. And I'm not as proficient as that, but I found that metallic black work, because there was a lot of times where I'm playing a game and a guy would come up to me like, "Oh, how is Raven Guard doing?" I'm like, because they're so close, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just black on black, and I found that just painting them metallic, guys now guys come up and they're like, "Oh, that's a sweet dark Iron Warriors color," and I'm like, "Oh, come on!" But
well, they got half of it right.
Yeah,
they got the iron part right.
And I like to put chainmail tabards on a lot of my infantry guys.
Right.
So,
yeah, I've seen that. It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
nice.
You can do a lot with them, and I find that they're very convertible, and you can literally do whatever you want. Like on the Iron Hands page, I see tons of guys like take these dreadnoughts and like give them like servo arms, or they taking parts like from orcs, like the mechanical parts from orcs, to try and give them like an extended arm kind of thing, and all this craziness. Or no, they're very much convertible that way. Seen dudes with like make track legs and stuff like that, like just craziness.
Make them into Terminators, yeah.
Basically,
the destroyer things, or what they're called in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like we said, underrated, and I love basically. So, all right, I think
awesome.
I'm out of wind with that.
Well, no, that's perfect. Thanks for tuning everybody, and we'll definitely be jumping into another Legion overview next week.
Yeah, please share, like, and subscribe, all that kind of jazz.
Yep.
All right.
Catch you guys later.
See you.
Bye.
Celebrating our 9th edition release for the Indomitus box set, we're actually dropping our very first 9th edition battle report, premiering tomorrow, so don't forget to check it out. Thanks for watching.